Hi, everyone. I'm Sarah Bauman, and I am a staff writer here at 1851 Franchise. Thank you so much for joining us today for a discussion around our 2020 website awards. Today, I have one of our judges, Michelle Rowan of Franchise Business Review. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Absolutely, Sarah. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So, as you know, just to kind of get us rolling, what were some of your initial thoughts when you were reviewing these websites? Did you notice any trends?
Yeah. So I saw a lot of good trends and a lot of bad trends. So the first thing is definitely seeing more video content this year than last year when I was part of the judging. So that was good to see a lot more testimonials. And definitely I'm seeing more catering to the type of person that you're looking to bring into your system. So you could tell people were looking for someone that maybe isn't as savvy on a computer and uh, focused more on the relationship side or the people part of it versus others. You could tell they were really into numbers, so you saw more of that. So those are all the good things I saw for trends. And then on the opposite side, I was really surprised at the amount of old content that people had on blogs or looking the same, the site looking the same as it did last year when we looked at them and not having a lot of change. So
Mhm.
that was, and even some broken links. So I think that franchise companies kind of raised their hand to be part of this, and the links we were given didn't work. And I was really surprised by that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, so to the point about content, because I think, you know, content is so important in recruiting franchisees to your brand. So, how often should franchisors be updating their content? Do you think a year back? I mean, what's most relevant for franchisees and what they need to know?
So I think that's a really great question. And I don't know if I'm looking so much on how far back you go as much as if I go and look at your content and the last post in your blog or the last news piece you have is from 6 months ago, that doesn't make me feel like you're active or exciting things are happening. So I think you can keep the old stuff on there, but you want to make sure, especially because sometimes they'll put like recent news and you go and it's the last story was from a year ago. That doesn't work. So I don't know that it needs to be the same date for everything, but you want to see something fresh, I would say at least in the last quarter, if not the last month, in the parts of the site that are designed to be really more of what's happening today.
Absolutely. Well, and I think to your point, I think the more recent your content is, the more recent your storytelling can be, and engaging potentially new franchisees to your brand. So, what elements, just kind of to that point, what do you think franchisors should be telling about their brand specifically? What aspects of storytelling should be in play within their content?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. And the first thing that I'll say is this year I was especially surprised at the brands that didn't have some kind of story around how COVID-19 has affected their business. I think that's a really a missed opportunity. And even if you don't have a good financial story to tell, you should hopefully have a story to tell of how you've supported your franchisees through it or how the outlook for next year looks. Because if you're not supporting your franchisees well through this, you shouldn't be selling franchises right now because they're not going to validate well for you and you don't have a model that's going to be profitable for the candidate. So I think that's something that needs to be addressed, and it will be a part of validation calls for months, if not years to come. So I think that's an important thing. And the other thing I would say is we need to see more diversity on these sites. I think that this year we've learned that um, there's franchising is an awesome opportunity because it's a level playing field. So whether you're a person of color or a woman or a man, you can come in and use this playbook and run this business. And so if that's what you really believe as a brand and that's what you want to put out there, you need to have people on your site that your candidate can see looks like them. So I think really thinking about not even just what you're putting up there, but who you're putting up there in your stock photography, in your existing franchisees, really giving them someone to emulate that's in your brand and that it's working well for is important. And I think we'll start seeing more of that as the year goes on and next year. I hope we see more of that.
Absolutely. Well, to that point, I mean, did you see any brands that really did that kind of, I would say like kind of a focus on their franchisees through
Yeah.
blogs? Great. Tell me a little more.
Yes, yeah. So lots more of the testimonials. So I was seeing a lot more of that in video. I was seeing that in the written story, and I definitely come from the point of view, more content the better. So let the candidate navigate through what you have there and decide how deep they want to go. But we know people go into YouTube, they start a video, and then they go down that rabbit hole based on what they want to see and what they want to hear and talk about. So put it out there, make it available. I don't want to say don't make it cluttery, make it very easy so that they know where they're going to see what they want to see. But I think that being able to look at your brand the way I want to look at your brand is the best thing that you can do from a content standpoint, knowing that everybody doesn't look at things the same way or get to their decision the same way. So just make it easy for them to navigate what they want to learn about in what order they want to learn about.
Absolutely. Well, so one question that I have for you, because I think, making things visually pleasing is very important to, engaging new franchisees. And I think, honestly, the first time you look at something is kind of the decision of whether you're going to keep reading or not. So what were some of the good visual aspects that you saw of these brands, and how can developers work that into what they're doing with their websites?
Yeah. So one, I would say making it clean, making it modern, making video available are important pieces of it. But I think also just making sure that your storytelling is authentic, that it doesn't come across as a sales pitch, but really that you're using your content more to provide transparency and to provide that storytelling, even if it's with your numbers. So I'm not even talking about just the testimonial part, but how do you get people to understand the story that you're trying to tell by being very transparent and no one wants to feel sold. So your site needs to tell the candidate who is your brand to the consumer, and then who are you as a culture, as a system? How do you use your numbers and your storytelling to talk about what's important to you?
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, and to your point about COVID, I think it is very important to be transparent about how your brand is doing, how you're handling it, and how you're putting these different procedures into place to make your brand successful moving forward. So I think you're absolutely right about that.
Yeah.
Well, fantastic. Well, thank you so much for today. I think you've given developers a lot to think about, as they move forward, and I really appreciate your time.
Absolutely. And the other thing I will say is it was exciting to start seeing more chatbots. So I think we're seeing more of that happening, and seeing the different ways that people were engaging through the chatbots. I didn't jump into them and get into it because I didn't want to end up in their funnel, but that's exciting to see. And I think that's what we'll see more of is, again, it's not a one size fits all. So how can you kind of engage them the way that makes sense for your brand, and make it a fun conversation. So I liked seeing that too.
Absolutely. No, and I think that's a great way to, like in the immediate, put your new franchisees into a dialogue with your company. So that's
absolutely. Just talk to me. I don't want to just shouting out into space. Like, let's talk. Yeah.
I love a good chat box.
Yeah, me too.
Perfect. Well, thank you again so much for joining us today, and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you so much, Sarah.
Bye-bye.